Greetings, seekers of the hidden and the ancient. Welcome to Ancient Chronicles AI, where forgotten worlds, sacred mysteries, and cosmic truths come alive through AI-driven storytelling. Today, we open the gate to explore the hidden prophecies of the Dead Sea Scrolls, a journey into realms just beyond ordinary sight. Prepare your mind, steady your spirit, and step with me into the unknown. The desert that remembers. The Judean desert is a place where silence has weight. Its cliffs rise like ancient guardians, its sands whisper with forgotten voices, and its heat presses down like the breath of time itself. Travelers who cross it often say the desert is alive, not with creatures, but with memory. For this is the land where prophets walked, where rebels hid, where kingdoms crumbled into dust. And it is here, in these barren cliffs, that the greatest archaeological mystery of the 20th century was born. The Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments of scripture, hymns of a vanished brotherhood, rules of a community awaiting cosmic transformation, and prophecies, some known, some whispered, some still sealed in shadow. But among them was one scroll that never reached the scholar's hands, a scroll that spoke not of the past, but of what was yet to come. 2. The Shepherd and the Shattered Jar. The story begins in 1947 with a young Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad. Pale-skinned from the desert sun, wiry and restless, he wandered the cliffs searching for a lost goat. The sun was sinking. The shadows stretched long. The desert wind carried the scent of salt from the Dead Sea. As he climbed a narrow ledge, he noticed a dark opening in the rock, a cave he had never seen before. Curious, he picked up a stone and tossed it inside. Instead of the dull thud of rock on sand, he heard something else. A crack, a shatter, the sound of clay breaking. He froze. Then he climbed inside. The cave was cool and silent. Tall clay jars stood like sentinels, some broken, some intact. Inside them were scrolls wrapped in linen, preserved by dryness and time. He took a few, not knowing their value. But there was one scroll he did not take, one wrapped in darker linen, sealed with pitch, resting alone in a jar that seemed untouched by centuries. When he reached for it, he felt something impossible, a faint pulse like a heartbeat. He dropped it and fled the cave, and that scroll remained hidden. For now, 3. The scholar who searched for shadows years later, after the first scrolls had been studied, a scholar named Dr. Elias Ben Shahar arrived in Qumran. He was a quiet man, pale-skinned, bespectacled, with a mind sharp as obsidian and a heart burdened by questions. He believed the scrolls were more than historical artifacts. He believed they were warnings, the war scroll, the Thanksgiving hymns, the rule of the community. But he was haunted by rumors of a missing scroll, one the shepherd had seen but never retrieved. A scroll said to contain the final vision of the teacher of righteousness, the mysterious leader of the Qumran sect. Some said the teacher was a prophet. Some said he was a messiah. Some said he was a man who saw the future and wrote what he saw. Dr. Ben Shahar became obsessed. He searched the cliffs for months, crawling through caves, brushing aside centuries of dust. He found pottery shards, scraps of parchment, even sandals hardened by time. But no scroll. Until one night, when the desert wind changed. 4. The cave that should not exist. It was near midnight when Dr. Ben Shahar felt a sudden chill. The moon hung low, casting silver light across the cliffs. The wind whispered, not like air, but like chanting. He followed it. The sound led him to a narrow crevice he had never noticed, barely wide enough for a man to squeeze through. He hesitated, then entered. Inside, the cave opened into a chamber unlike any he had seen. The walls were carved with symbols, stars, flames, eyes, and a figure standing between them. At the center lay a single clay jar, unbroken, sealed with pitch. His heart pounded. He lifted the lid. Inside was a scroll wrapped in dark linen. He unrolled it carefully. The ink was dark, the letters sharp, the parchment strangely warm. At the top were words that made his breath catch. The vision of the last days, as revealed to the teacher of righteousness. He had found it. The lost prophecy. V. The three signs. The scroll described three signs that would mark the beginning of a great unveiling. Not destruction, but revelation. The first sign, the shaking of the earth. The scroll spoke of a time when the earth would tremble in places long silent. Mountains would groan. Valleys would shift, not as punishment, as awakening. The bones of the world shall stir, it said, and the sleepers beneath the dust shall remember their names. The second sign, the darkening of the heavens, not an eclipse, not a storm, but a veil, a shadow cast not by nature, but by knowledge. For the heavens shall be darkened by understanding, and the light shall return only when the hidden is made known. The third sign, the voice in the wilderness. A voice shall cry out from desolate places, not of man, not of angel, but of the covenant itself. A voice that would speak through events, not words. A voice that would call humanity to choose between fear and awakening. Dr. Ben-Shahar felt a chill. This was no ordinary prophecy. This was a message meant for a future generation. The fourth sign that was erased at the bottom of the scroll. Dr. Ben-Shahar noticed something strange. A section had been scraped clean, erased deliberately. But faint traces of ink remained. He held the scroll to the light. Slowly, the letters emerged. A fourth sign. One the scribes had tried to hide. The fourth sign, the return of the Watchers. His heart raced. The Watchers, the mysterious beings mentioned in the book of Enoch, said to be angels who descended to earth in ancient times. Why would the Yahad write of them? Why erase it? Why hide it? He read the faint words. When the veil is lifted and the heavens are darkened, the Watchers shall stir in their prisons of light, and their shadows shall fall upon the earth once more. He stepped back. This was dangerous knowledge. Knowledge someone had tried to bury. Knowledge that had waited 2,000 years to be found. And now it was in his hands. 7. The cave that closes as he rolled up the scroll, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls groaned. The entrance behind him began to narrow. The cave was collapsing. He ran, clutching the scroll. A passage grew smaller, the light dimmer. He squeezed through the crevice just as the rocks sealed behind him. The cave vanished, as though it had never existed. The desert was silent, but the scroll pulsed faintly in his hands. 8. The awakening of the signs. Months passed. Dr. Ben-Shahar returned to Jerusalem, resumed teaching, and tried to bury the memory of the scroll. But the world began to shift. Earthquakes struck regions long dormant. Ancient ruins rose from the sands. New discoveries challenged established history. The heavens darkened, not with shadow, but with overwhelming knowledge. People around the world began reporting the same dream. A voice calling from a barren landscape, speaking in a language they did not know, but somehow understood. A voice that said, "Prepare." The signs were unfolding. And he alone held the fourth. Ix. The hidden message unable to ignore the signs. Dr. Ben-Shahar returned to Qumran. The cave was gone, but the desert felt alive as though waiting. That night, he unrolled the scroll by firelight. As the parchment warmed, hidden writing appeared beneath the ink, a second layer of prophecy, written in heat-sensitive ink. His breath caught. The Watchers do not return as beings. They return as understanding. He read on. When humanity is ready, the veil shall lift, and the knowledge of the ancient ones shall awaken within the minds of all. The Watchers were not literal beings descending from the heavens. They were symbols. Symbols of forgotten wisdom. Symbols of human potential. Symbols of a consciousness waiting to awaken. The prophecy was not about the return of ancient angels. It was about the evolution of humanity. A shift in awareness. A transformation of understanding. A moment when humanity would see itself and the universe with new eyes. He felt tears in his eyes. The prophecy was not a warning. It was a promise. X. The scroll's final rest. Dr. Ben Shahar returned to Jerusalem and hid the scroll deep within the archives of the university. No label, no catalog entry, no clue. The scroll would remain hidden until the world was ready. And perhaps one day, another seeker, driven by curiosity, humility, and courage, would find it, not to reveal it, but to understand it. For the prophecy was not a prediction of the end. It was a map of the beginning. A beginning humanity had been moving toward for thousands of years. A beginning now closer than ever. Outro. Our journey through the unseen now comes to a close, but the mysteries continue to whisper. If this exploration stirred your curiosity, consider liking and subscribing to help this channel grow and unlock even deeper secrets. Until our next passage beyond the veil, stay curious, stay aware, and take care.